Alright, in this video I'm going to show you how to create your pot that will fit into the circle that you cut in your wooden desktop organizer last week. I envision these pots having plants in them, and I will bring plants in later this week, but if you have another idea for it, that's okay, just as long as it has a purpose on your desktop organizer. So first thing we're going to do is create a sketch. And my circle is 3 inches in diameter. I know some of you did something a little bit different, so just make sure you have the right dimensions in here. And then I'm going to come up here to offset, clicking on this, and I'm offsetting -0.25 because the end mill I used to cut this out was 1/4 of an inch. And putting a 0.25 outline into a 0.25 slot is a really tight fit. So this is something you may want to play around with, just like 3D print this component and then do the rest of it afterwards. So I may even just go ahead and say, actually I'm going to do 0.245. So now I'm going to extrude this, and again, this is something that you may have done differently than me. So I did 2 passes and took it down 1/2 inch. Maybe you just did 1 pass, maybe you did something totally different, but you should try and measure before you get too far into this. And then over here, I'm going to join. Press OK. Now I'm going to select, first I should probably unhide my sketch over here, and I'm going to go to the top view. I'm going to select this inside part, my outside part, and I'm going to extrude this like 0.2 inches. And this is again a little bit up to how you would, maybe not 0.2, maybe like 1.15. And this is just the base, joining, good. Now we're going to learn how to use an offset plane. I'm going to make my first offset plane on this circle. And we're getting to the point where we're deciding how tall you actually want your pot to be. I think I'm going to do like a 3.5 inch tall pot, so I'm going to make this first offset plane go to about 2 inches. And then I'm going to make my next one go to 3.5 inches. Now I'm going to create a sketch on each of these planes. So on this plane, I've decided that I want my pot to kind of go out a little bit, to be like a little bit more bulbous in the middle. So I'm going to create a circle, and it's just going to be like a little bit bigger than my 3 inch diameter, so maybe like 3.25. And finish sketch. Then I'm going to create another sketch on my top plane, and this one I'm going to do another circle. And you could do different shapes here, like you can get really creative with this, but I'm going to do another circle, and then I'm going to do 2.8 and have it kind of taper in a little bit. Finish sketch. And now I'm going to loft these. So create, loft. And the order that you click on these does matter. And I'm going to be joining. So click on this one, middle one, top one. And you can see how it's, you know, like a little bulbous right there. Okay, now I'm going to create a sketch. And this part gets a little tricky, so you may have to kind of finagle around with this. Oh, wrong side. So I'm going to just go down here and scooch over. I do not need this. Okay, so let's try that again. So I'm going to create sketch. I'm trying to click on that. Good. Now what you do right here is going to determine the kind of pattern you're going to make. So this is where you'll be getting a little bit creative. So I just want to do a rectangle, I think. I'm going to come up a little bit, but not too far, like right there. And that looks pretty good. And finish sketch. Let's see how that looks. Yeah. So actually it's not quite tall enough, so I need to edit that. So I'm going to right click on this, edit sketch, and I'm just going to like bring it up. I want it to be a little bit taller. Yeah, that's pretty good. Finish sketch. Now, as you can see, my sketch is in the middle, and I want to bring it out. So I'm going to click on the hotkey M, and it says sketch objects, which is what I have here. So I'm just selecting all of the parts of my sketch, and then I'm going to move it. And just gonna check and see. Yeah, so it needs to move out just a little bit more, and that's good. Press OK. So now my sketch is over here, and I need to extrude it. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to use the hotkey E for extrude. And then we need to pay attention to this little plane over, or this little these options. So I want to extrude it so that it intersects, like it becomes part of this. So I'm going to change this from cut to new body, and I'm also going to change this to object. So then I have to select on the object. So I select on the object. Now you can see it's just to the object, which is what we want. And then press OK. Now this is the point where, like, if you wanted to edit this this three-dimensional form, now you could. So like I am going to do that. I think I'm just gonna like fillet or chamfer this side right here. Yeah. And I'm gonna do the same thing down here. And it's kind of hard to see with all that going on, so I'm just going to hide that sketch. And fillet this one, fillet. Yeah, looks pretty good. And you can change even the type of fillet. I think that looks good. And then press OK. So now I have this little object hanging off of my pot. So this is where we're going to create the pattern. So click on pattern, circular pattern, and then you're going to select the body that you're trying to create the pattern of. So I'm clicking on this. Now it's like select the axis. The axes. This is the axes I'm doing. And then I'm going to do like 30 of these. And then press OK. And so there is my my pattern. And now, you know, this is looking pretty cool, except for I can't put anything in it because it's not hollow. So I'm going to change this and shell it. And like that looks pretty good. Press OK. And then I'm going to fillet this as well. Just like that. Press OK. So now this is pretty good. The next thing you're going to do is export this as an STL. So go up here, File, you need to save it first. And press Save. And then over here, File, Export, STL, and then this can take a little bit of time. All right, once this is complete, you can click on Show in Binder and then right-click Open with Prusa Slicer. Once you're in Prusa Slicer, this is just where you need to start figuring out your settings and like how much time you're gonna need to reserve. So this looks good. I will say I did this pot, and you would think that you would need supports underneath this area here, but it printed fine without supports, which is pretty impressive. So this is something that could cause your print to fail if you don't have supports, but if you do have supports, could take extra time and you'd be wasting it. So this is kind of up to you to see how this goes. I'm actually going to change this to 0.2 speed, and I've got my PLA. I'm using Ray, which is an i3 MK3, I believe. No supports. For infill, I'm just going to do 10 and then slice. This is telling me it's going to take about 8 hours, basically. And what you're looking for here in this mode is to make sure that this is like actually printable. And so I'm just gonna like go through each slice so you can see that infill in there. And then we've got that base right here. That looks good. And this is the part I'm saying, like, this is clearly just gonna be print, once it gets to this layer right here, it's gonna be printing in midair. So it could fail, but mine didn't. So could be a printer thing, could be that I, just like had a lot of luck that day, I don't know. But anyways, from here, you would export the G-code, and the Prusas read SD card, so you could just do this once you get to the lab, but I definitely recommend checking out how much time you're going to need before you reserve your printer. All right, let me know if you have any questions.